one of many in a group of the right wing helium talkers. Ben's sort of the on the front lines of this. I don't do a lot of Ben Shapiro stuff on here because he's more on the internet than he is on legit news, and so therefore it seems like a not quite a circular firing squad, but it's like punching down, if not sideways. Now I know that they've got, he's got 3 million subscribers, and I'm just about to crack 20,000, but mine are real human beings and they haven't been paid for, so I'll take that as a win. And secondly, I don't have the Heritage Foundation's money behind me, puffing this up, and I have been on doing that kind of punditry for, but like a little under a year, right? The bots will definitely hug me, I think. Now, maybe it's because when I look at a robot's face, I have the same response as I do, especially the more digital they look. They try to make them look like people. It creeps me out like this. But if you look at a robot's face, that they're just kind of like it's digital characters or something, or just lines, I can totally relate. I don't know about you, but it's the same thing when you like see a puppet. If you see a puppet and it looks too human, you're like, ugh, something's wrong. But if it's just furry and got big eyes, you're like, oh yeah, what's happening, Sam? And I have the same kind of feeling about robots, and I think they'll probably have the same feeling about me. That I won't trigger their uncanny valley. Speaking of uncanny valley, the area between Ben Shapiro's eyebrows has been increasingly sparse these days. I'm going to guess there was an intervention when he went to family therapy and was complaining on Twitter that whenever you go to family therapy, it's always about the woman's needs not getting met, which it isn't, unless you suck at meeting the needs of your woman. In theory. So, but the reason I chose this one today is because he's going to explain to us the problem with vaccine passports. I'm very excited. You're excited. We're all excited. Wait and see. What could possibly, what's the problem? Not the challenge that we have to meet in these dark and difficult times, not the adult decisions we have to make as human beings to deal with something that might, while endangering our lives, also has to be balanced against the other damaging effects of perhaps lockdowns and that kind of stuff, weighed by like decent people, would do when they have, skin in the game and kids and shit like that. No. What's the problem? What is the problem? I need to know. You need to know. We all need to know.
But it's not racism to make people show their vaccine card if they are
Oh, wait. Okay. This is going to be one of those, it's all about, ID, right? That's what's going to happen. And it's very choppy. I will try to fix the audio on that. Let me see while it's running. I mean, it could be that he just sounds like that.
So let's just get this straight. It's racism to make you show your ID to vote, but it's not racism to make people show their vaccine card if they are unvaccinated. Disproportionately.
Well, no, because I'll give you an example. Because the vaccine, unlike photo ID cards in the United States of America, is free. So there's that. See, the vaccine's free. And then they give you a card when you've been vaccinated for free. This nothing?
Only black people are unvaccinated in this country, particularly in major cities. Get it, got it, doubt it. Now the Democrats...
Oh, I see. He's using cute little, GIFs to cover the edits? All right.
Have decided they're going to full-scale embrace vaccine passport. In fact, MSNBC's Stephanie Rule, objective journalism, getting that hot, sticky journalism all over the place, she says...
That's kind of gross. Stephanie is great at her job and a very attractive woman. Let's be honest. She does have a bit of a Joker smile sometimes when she does that. It's old school Jack Nicholson Joker, but it's still charming. Yeah.
I don't even understand the argument against vaccine passports. Don't you, though? I can explain it really, really quickly to you.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Thank you. Ben Shapiro is going to explain vaccine passports and what the problem is with them. Let's hear it. This is it. The problem solved right now. Here we go.
It turns out that if you tell everybody who's vaccinated, they get to go to all the special places, and everybody else who's unvaccinated has to hang out together, you're going to get a faster spread. Do you understand? I did it in small words and short sentences so that you could understand.
I see. So if you give vaccine passports to people who are vaccinated, I'm with you. I will go with this. This is choice Ben Shapiro. I mean, his voice does sound weird. I will. Yeah, he was explaining to us. Don't be afraid for him to explain. So we could do the direct quote again, but the idea is that if you pass out vaccine passports to people who've been vaccinated, and you say you can go to all the cool places, you can go to concerts, you can go to shows, and that kind of thing, and then you don't give them to other people, you speed up the spread because you encourage people who don't have the vaccine passport to stay home and orgy. Is that how it is?
There's Stephanie Ruhle saying she literally doesn't understand why a vaccine passport is a bad idea.
Hold on.
By the way, Israel has been doing vaccine passports again, and Israel is now going to full lockdown probably at the beginning of the holidays in September. Here is Stephanie Ruhle.
Hold on.
And I don't understand those who are against.
Okay. And by the way, that's Stephanie Ruhle. We like Stephanie Ruhle, by the way. We're fans in general. In this household. Let me see. All right. This is. No, I got to turn on the monitor mix. Turn off this guy. Maybe that does it. It's very weird. But it's choppy audio. I'm trying to fix. By the way.
Showing proof of vaccine. Have they never had to show their passport, show their ID, or take their kids to school? It makes no sense to me.
Oh my God! These are the exact same people.
Hold on. I have to back that up. I missed that. Clem, whatever your name is, Ben Shapiro, Clem Shapiro. Clem, go ahead. You were saying
their ID or take their kids to school. It makes no sense to me.
Oh my God! These are the exact same people who say that it's racism to make you show your ID to vote.
Because we charge people to get state IDs and driver's licenses and the like. Most of the things that qualify, especially in red states, dum-dum. And that would be considered a poll tax. Whereas the vaccine is free. The card is free. It's free. It's fucking free. And you have a right to vote currently enshrined in our Constitution. Even though it's a little wonky, it is there. Whereas a right to a vaccine for a disease they couldn't even imagine back in the 1700s isn't in there. You have a right to vote. You don't technically have a right to a vaccine. You certainly don't have an enforceable right, meaning like kind of think of it, maybe you'd like this better, Ben. Let's say we do with vaccines what Australia does with voting. How's that sound? Huh? We'll fine people who don't get vaccinated. Ick.
So let's just get this straight. It's racism to make you show your ID to vote, because black people apparently are incapable of getting a voter ID. But it's not racism to make people show their vaccine card if they are unvaccinated. Disproportionately, black people are unvaccinated in this country, particularly.
Again, it's free. So this is a stupid argument, and it dies on the vine. He'll say it a bunch of times because he thinks the argument gets better if he repeats it 3 or 4 times.
Major cities. You'll notice that there's a heavy crossover between black population in the United States and unvaccinated areas. There are 2 large groups of people in the U.S. who are not getting vaccinated at the same rates as everybody else. One is rural conservatives, and the other is inner city minorities.
Yeah, guess which number is way fucking bigger? Because in the areas he's citing, where 42% of the populace isn't getting vaccinated because 32% of the, versus, 32% of rural areas or some shit like that. Guess which one of those percentage numbers has more fucking people in it? I'm sorry, more people in it. I mean, honestly, I know Ben's. Well, I was gonna say he's being stupid. And the question you have to ask yourself is not whether or not Ben Shapiro knows how specious and ridiculous and contrived and nonsensical his argument is. The question is he afraid that you'll see that he knows it because he doesn't want he has to think, he has to show what he's thinking to the world, and if he varies from that, he's in trouble with the overlords. I don't know, whatever. Or he's feeding that to his audience because he knows that's what they want to say. Like either he's doing it because that's the bread and butter of his show, and he needs these people to think he's on their side, even though he knows better than this, or he wants them to believe this. I'm very confused. The whole thing's very confusing. Please continue. So yes. So let me. So asking black people for the thing that costs money to do the thing they have a right to, Ben Shapiro doesn't think is racist. Because asking everybody for the thing that's free is. I'm going to get a nosebleed. Maybe if he words it differently.
Those are the two unvaccinated groups in the United States. Unvaccinated for wildly variant reasons, except that there's a common distrust of the government, I think.
Yeah, that's a debate. Yeah, the 12% of people in the Bronx, sorry, not 12% of people in the Bronx, 12% of the black community in the Bronx that is unvaccinated, that gives their reason beyond the fact that they're just out of the, they haven't been, there's no outreach, they don't know how to do it, they don't know how to sign up, that kind of stuff, where you need, and that's true of Appalachia as well. So there's that crowd. And then there's the people who like Tuskegee Airmen, you know what I mean? It's like the anti-vaxxer moms who are like, thalidomide, that subset of subset of subset. Right. So there's that group. And then there's every Trump voter who has been to a rally and their immediate family.
That runs through both. Pretty astonishing stuff. Meanwhile, Biden's COVID advisor, Jeffrey Zients, he says that Yelp is now going to let businesses list their vaccination policies. This is, I've said before, I think this is a predicate to what comes next, which is this sort of social credit system where businesses are going to start basically carding you for a wide variety of social sins.
Yeah. Obviously we'll have to talk to Rudy Giuliani about this, but we're this close to them, chucking PrEP down your throat at a glory hole and insisting you wash up first. It's very scary for you, Ben. I understand.
Just the beginning.
Yeah, so it's a slippery slope. Just like the polio vaccine was. Just like, by the way, all right, I'll look this up. Hold on, if I may. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Let's see. Let's see. So, some of you may know. Let's see. Some of you may know that I did I've done my fair share of VH1age. And while I was doing it, they asked me to go do Celebrity Paranormal Project. And I initially, even though I love the paranormal, I'm a big fan. I can bore you till 3 a.m. on almost any paranormal topic. I'm pretty sure. It's a good time. They asked me if I was interested in being on one of the episodes. And I was like, I don't know, back and forth. And they said, there's a haunted place we want to take you in Kentucky, and maybe if you went there, we'd pay for you to stay a couple days. You could go see your family. And I was like, all right, that's better, but I don't know. I'm kind of busy. I'm doing stand-up. And they said, Gary Busey's going to be on it. And I went, I'm in. I'm in. It was, yes, Waverly Hills. Absolutely. So Waverly Hills is a tuberculosis sanatorium that was used during the White Plague, which I'm sure sounds like a graphic we're about to see on Greg Kelly's show. And they tuberculosis consumption, to the who's at home, was something that that killed a lot of people, thousands, and they would round people up sometimes if they found you on a train coughing into a rag, or you were a lunger and you were too poor to get your to walk around basically with a bottle of snake oil or medicine. Those snake oil salesmen and stuff that were on the backs of carts and shit, and it was good for your lungs and da da da. Well, there was kind of a thing that if you were in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you're out west where it's really pre-industrialized, and most of it, that if they came around, they were scooping people up who had tuberculosis and putting you in a sanatorium. If you walked around, if you had medicine on you, that proved you had money and means, and you weren't going to, if you were going to die, you were going to leave your shit to somebody else and they'd let you go. But if you were broke, they just used it as an excuse to kind of scoop up problem people and get rid of them because they had tuberculosis and no place to stay, and it was dangerous. And so it wasn't a big thing, but it was enough. There were enough anecdotal stories about it where people would walk around with a little flask with them for medicinal purposes. So they would have, basically drinking cough medicine. Yeah, Doc Holliday is a great example of that. And so people would have medicine on them so that they could show it, basically, if anybody started rounding people up on a train, or they're like, everybody, these people are sick, they've got tuberculosis. Get them to see the doc, and if they've got it, put them in the sanatorium, especially if they went into the the edges of the cities to find work or came and went. They couldn't afford to get busted, not treating it, right? So it's sort of where, it came from a bunch of places, but it's one of the places where it locked in the hole for medicinal purposes when people would tip, right? So, and that's what these snake oil salesmen who went around, what they were selling was kind of like the I guess hydroxychloroquine of its time. Didn't actually help, but it looked like it was helping, and it tasted good, and it was mostly alcohol. And so people, they'd sell it to you, and you go, that's just curing it. And if they ever came to round you up because you had TB, you're like, no, I have doctor's orders. I'm on this. I'm fine. I just got a little something. And that's what it was, basically your vaccine passport. It was your medicine passport. And still, if they didn't buy it, they'd scoop your ass up and put you in a sanatorium. So, So this is the local, this is Waverly Hills, which is scary as shit. And yeah, here it is. This is another picture of it. God damn, that place is creepy. And at one point, it was so bad, because they would scoop people up and they would take them in there and they would just kind of lock them up, and they put them on these, there was like a balcony on the back where they would roll you out to get some sunlight for a little while and then roll you back in, because there were too many people in there to just have them out in the sun all day breathing the clean air. So they'd roll them right back in, and it was gnarly. And there's all kinds of horror stories about this place. The main one being is that they had buses coming and taking people to the cemetery when they would die, and it started happening so much that people were committing suicide because they saw how many dead were coming out of this place, and they knew they were doomed. They knew, so they would, and there was one nurse who's very famous, her office was right up here. I sat behind her desk, and she worked there's like kind of a violent ward kind of place up here, and where the crazies went. She worked up there. She found out, they came up and they told her she had tuberculosis, that she had tested positive for tuberculosis. And she got up, she put down her stuff, got up from her desk, and walked off the roof. She died. She just committed suicide like that. She kind of knew, probably, but the minute they told her, she was like, she just died. It was a hideous time. And, this on top of sanitariums that were, built for the mentally ill, which, of course, famously Reagan defunded heavily and contributed to our need for comic relief, the not the actual comic relief, but the actual fundraising thing for fighting homelessness, came directly out of that order by Ronald Reagan. Yes, it did smell haunted. The places smell haunted. It's really. So, anyways, these places existed before. These, I mean, from what is it, from 1882. When's the Let's see if they give us a date on any of this. 1929 was in Finland. This one closed in 1972. The Silvercrest in Indiana was built in 1940, closed in 1972. So we had these things for a long time, and they would scoop you up and throw you in them, you know. And this idea that suddenly, like, having a thing that says you've been vaccinated, so you can go in a place where people are close. We are not being scooped up and put in a sanatorium if we're not walking around with a pass or snake oil in our pocket that we can sip from and cough into a rag, right? We aren't. That is not happening. It's not going to happen. It happened before with tuberculosis. It's not happening anymore. The law doesn't allow it. Nobody's asking for it. It's not the kind of disease that requires that kind of treatment. It's moronic. But the idea, what's most moronic is the idea that we have a slippery slope, right? That we're just inching towards. We passed that line in 1882. We were well past that kind of behavior, and we decided against it. We didn't even have that during the AIDS epidemic. These guys, like, this is just baseline idiotic fear-mongering. But don't forget, the entirety of his point is that the talks of vaccine passports and only letting vaccinated people who have proof into environments is the cause of the spread of the Delta variant, because the folks that get all mad and I'll show you I'll get COVID the infantile, the opinion of the infantile intellect of your average red stater by Ben Shapiro is more offensive to them than I think anything I've ever said about them.
Businesses know vaccinations are a way to keep their workers and customers safe and to keep their doors open.
Right.
And today, Yelp is announcing a new feature that allows consumers to search for businesses with fully vaccinated workers or businesses that require proof of vaccination to enter the business.
Okay, again, so much of this is just being driven by, if Republicans oppose it, it must be good.
No, actually, your argument just before you played that clip was, if Democrats are getting the vaccine, it must be bad, and therefore, if having a vaccine passport to show that you actually aren't going to share the Delta variant, which is taking kids at a much higher rate, which is deadly and spreads faster, because they're doing that, it's probably better to get the Delta variant. This is the exact opposite of this argument.
The ultimate example of this was MSNBC's Chris Hayes. This was pretty hilarious. The other day, Chris Hayes attacked Marco Rubio for supposedly not pushing vaccines. There's only one problem with that, which is that he literally quoted Marco Rubio pushing vaccines. So Marco Rubio tweeted out, quote, "Stop."
Anybody else do this before they read? Like Zoe Deschanel? In Yes Man? Anybody? All right.
The mask fetish. If you want to wear a mask as a courtesy to those around you, or because you're in no mood to get even a little sick, go ahead. If you want your kids to mask in schools, that's your right. But we aren't going to mask your way out of this. Right? And then he concluded that people should actually vaccinate. Right? He finished by suggesting openly, he says, we're not going to mask your way out of this. And then he put up like an actual verbal statement in which he said at the very end that you should mask. Quote, "The answer here is not masks. As I said, you're not going to mask your way out of this. The answer here is vaccines. Get vaccinated. That's the answer." Chris Hayes naturally tweeted, "This is a really perfect example of the constant triangulating, cowardice, and whataboutism that's infected the entire party and movement. You can't just say, hey, get vaccinated. Have to find some way to own the libs." No, Chris.
Yeah, why aren't you showing the rest of that statement? Hold on. Now I gotta go look it up Hold on. Let's see. Twitter. Try to open up Twitter. Then we go searching for it. Oh my God! Why do your own work? Okay. Let's see. Stop with the mask fetish. Which, by the way, maybe he was yelling it. Whoops. Sorry. I tried to do that. Okay. So this was a video message, by the way, that he put out. Oh, well, thanks for that. Okay. If you want to wear a mask as a courtesy to those around you because you're in no mood to get a little sick, go ahead. If you want your kids to mask in school, that's your right. But we aren't going to mask our way out of this. And then he includes it live from a hotel room, I think, in DC, or yeah. Well, let's see. What does he have to say?
The overwhelming majority of the people who are in the hospital are not vaccinated.
Right.
Overwhelming majority of the people that are testing positive and are vaccinated are not going to the hospital. So what does common sense tell you? It tells you if you're vaccinated, you're probably not going to get COVID, but if you do, you're not going to get very sick. If you're not vaccinated, you're probably going to get COVID eventually. And when you do, it might be nothing, it might be really bad, and you might end up in the hospital. That's the facts. And you present that to people, and you talk to people as adults, as grown-ups. You present this information,
Okay.
and you allow people in a free country to then make the best decision for themselves and for their families. And
Well, they don't make the decision just for themselves and for their fucking families. That's the problem, dum-dum. You're not just making this decision. You're making this decision for everyone else. You're carrying and if it doesn't make you sick, then you're like, well, I don't know what this fucking big deal is. And then you spread it around to your other friends who are like, I don't know about this, man. We're not going to mask our way out of this. Why do I need masks? So, by the way, midway through this, I was like, you know what? Maybe, Ben deserves a little credit for bringing this up because it seemed maybe it's an unnecessary slam, right? Maybe it's not necessary. Maybe Chris Hayes just, sometimes you're like, somebody's often, and this can happen with someone like Marco Rubio, where someone is such a dick that everything they say sounds particularly irritating, right? Sorry, is there my Australia? Yeah. Just making sure you guys could hear this or whatever. It's kind of quiet, so. And then he has to turn around and go, you make your decision for you and your family. And by that, we mean, if you don't want to wear masks and you don't feel like you're going to get vaccinated and you've heard all the information, then it's your choice to go get it and cough it all over everyone. And by the way, it won't be Democrats wearing masks. It will be your own friends and family. It will be the people in that went to the Trump rally with you. It will be your buddies at Mar-a-Lago. It will not be the libs he's trying to own.
No, but people are making that decision. You've seen the vaccination rates surge.
Yeah, because they're scared shitless. Because you told them it wasn't as big a deal for a long time. Everybody in your party did. Well, like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's basically the flu, right? While you were defending Trump this whole time. And now it's too late.
But instead, the CDC and a lot of other people spent the first 2 days here arguing about masks. Who are we going to strap masks on now? How are we going to...
No one. No one's strapping masks on you. You put your own fucking mask on, and then when you leave the building or you go wherever you are with just your family because you guys know you're either inoculated, you've all got your vaccines, or you isolate, you could take them off. I don't know what this whole thing about like a government worker is going to come into your fucking house and put a mask on you and at gunpoint. This like anti-authoritarian fantasy, like everybody wants to be a rebel now. Oh, you can't hear him? It's very quiet. I apologize. It's as loud as this piece of it gets. I'll try. Let's see.
Masks you're not going to mask your way out of this pandemic. The only way out of this pandemic is to turn COVID into something worse than a cold or a flu. We have medicines to do that. It's called a vaccine. And that's what we should be spending our time doing, trying to get more people vaccinated, Not by coercing them, not by threatening them, not by calling them names, not making people angry at them, but by showing them the facts and the data, and eventually.
Yeah, what do you do when you've shown them the facts and the data and they still want to come into the restaurant and scream at people? What do you do when you've shown them the facts and the data and they don't give a goddamn? Can I coerce them then? Is that okay? Can I talk them into it? Are we not to converse with folks? And yes, shame and ridicule are very effective with a large group of people. It is something they will get and feel and start to feel stupid that they bought this bullshit. And it's way better. Coercing, insulting, ridiculing, all those things are better than a fucking lung transplant, you tool. I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He was half in the... You were doing so well, Clarice. You had been courteous and responsive to courtesy. You were completely frank about the unfortunate situation with Miggs.
Eventually, people will reach that conclusion in sufficient numbers. In fact, we're already seeing that happen.
No, you're not. You are not. What you're seeing is a panicked rush to get vaccinated by a bunch of bullshit artists who were telling themselves for months it was no big deal, and now it's killing people around them. This is not them, oh, well, we've been shown the fact. You know what the fact is? The fact is one of their favorite radio hosts died on a ventilator. The fact is a relative texted the family, and the last thing they said was, I should have got the darn vaccine. That's what they're responding to. This is fucking gross. This is the vaccine equivalent of Trump's January 6th video where he was like, you're beautiful, we love you, now go home. Like, fucking hell. By the way, does Ben play not in his own clip? I don't know, maybe he did on the show. Does he play the clip of Marco Rubio? I don't think so. No, he didn't. Well, wait, maybe he did. We got 20, it's a minute 30, that video, and we've got 30 seconds left in this, I'm going to guess.
Can't just say, hey, get vaccinated. Have to find some way to own the libs. No, Chris, I have a feeling you're missing a mirror in your home. He literally says, get vaccinated, but you have to find a way to triangulate so as to blame Republicans.
No, he also says, don't insult it or cajole people. Like, just show them the facts, and that'll be enough. We're already seeing it. It's a bullshit. Like, he's covering his ass. This is a video after the fact. This is like a fucking Columbo episode where somebody leaves a message on somebody's machine. Like, I'm at the park by myself, and I've been here since... when did he die? 8:15. So I've been here since 7:30. Piss off.
Or people not getting vaccinated, even when Republicans are telling people to get vaccinated. Okay, if you want to keep going with the Fox News fallacy, all you, or the DeSantis fallacy, whatever you choose to call it, enjoy yourselves.
I choose not to call it a fallacy. I choose to go through your clip that you posted that's called The Problem with Vaccine Passports, where you, midway through it, diverted into some bullshit about Marco Rubio being owned by Chris Hayes. Thank you for the super chat, Deanne. Appreciate it.
Because it is not going to redound to your benefit. The battle for the culture is heating up. We here at the Daily Wire are making some big moves. So be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, because you're...
Yeah, and don't forget, cookies at 9 and never before bedtime, because if you have milk, it makes your tummy gurgles. Don't forget, the Daily Wire is on every day. He looks like a ventriloquist dummy. That's adorable. It's just, I don't even know how that works. All right. So I hope you guys learned the problem with vaccine passports, according to Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, who's making big moves in the culture war because. By the way, also congrats to Malcolm Nance for pantsing this dude on Real Time. Good time. He looks like a Stephen King prototype. That's it. And sounds like Mickey Mouse. It's a bad mix. It really is.